Hello guys, and welcome back to my channel, and welcome back to another video on the Little Blue ZX. Today's video will be me installing the starter motor, putting all the power steering components back together, and just basically going through a few bits that I've kind of done off camera, like the gear linkages and stuff, and just showing you those. So yeah, let's get started. We're going to show you how to install the starter motor. We won't be doing wiring on that today because I'm going to do that as part of the wiring install, which will maybe be the next video, depends what I feel like. I'm going to battle the heat. It's like 32 degrees Celsius here in outside temperature. Even with a bit of breeze, it's still hot. So we'll get started now, and we'll run through what we need to do this. So first things first, I thought I'd show you what I've done in the last video. Well, in the last video you'd have seen this anyway, where I dropped this in. But what I forgot to do in the last video is, if I rock it, you will see that it won't move anymore, because I have tightened up this 18mm. I've put the two 13mm on each side there and tightened them up. This, I said in the end of the last video that it's another 18mm on this side, and I will put it in off camera. That is actually a 16mm on that side, because all I've done was dropped it down. And as you can see by, like I said, it's not rocking. I've done the engine mount underneath. I will show you that in a second. If you follow me on Instagram, you will already know this, but I have done the gear linkages. They're all connected, so we've got 5 speeds in forward and reverse, all working perfectly fine on the gearbox. They've all been painted up and cleaned up nicely. These plastic covers have been cleaned and put back in place. And also, just so I could say this as well out there too, because I actually got a question regarding this. It's asking if it was relatively normal. Now my gearbox is really good, nothing wrong with it. My clutch is brand new, as you would have seen from the last video. But the question was, is this normal with that movement? I personally would say yes, it is. Because like I said, my gearbox is good. I had no problems with the gearbox. The whole reason why I'm doing this in the first place is because I actually hydro locked the engine and bent a conrod, but all the way through the gearbox I never had a problem with it. I never had it leaking oil or anything. So I would say that it's literally, you push it forward to that position, attach the clutch cable, and then that's fine. That's nice and taut and ready to engage the clutch. But when you've got it all disconnected like this and you want to separate the gearbox, I would guess personally that extra bit of movement is just to take the forks away, so it gives you a bit more access for changing the clutch. Correct me if I'm wrong guys, but that's what I reckon. So I reckon that's perfectly normal. Anyway, so on to this. We're going to do the starter motor, which just sits in there. Oh, actually I was going to show you what else I've done, hadn't I? I'll take you under the car. So as you'll be able to see, there is a plate now, and that is to cover the bottom part of the flywheel up. That's what I've done off camera. And also just back here is the last piece to the lower engine mount. That's all bolted up through that bolt there, and that's all done as well. So I think now let's get the starter motor installed. So guys, here you can see we've got the starter motor. I haven't painted this, but I have cleaned it. As you can see, it's old with a bit of rust on it and stuff, and you can now see the label. Trust me when I say this, the label was so black. I could literally get my nail in there and get a real thick bit of dirt off, about that thick sort of thing, about a centimetre thick it was. It was literally disgusting. But now it's really clean comparison. We've got 3 bolt holes here. One's got a little recess in because that goes onto this lug here, and we'll just place that in just like so. Make sure it lines up with a lug. That should sort of hold itself, and we'll put this bracket goes on the other side. I've given this a little bit of a clean, nothing special, just a wipe over. Put the first bolt through into that hole there, and just do it a few times by hand just to lock it in place. You may have to manoeuvre it about just to get the bolt to seat correctly for the second one. And the third and final one. But just before I do the third one, I'll show you that it's these type of bolts, again with the 8mm hex bit on there to do them up. So that'll go in by hand now as well. Right, so that's now bolted up nicely, guys, and I've just realised I will have to take one of these bolts out later for the purpose of the earthing of the wiring, but we'll worry about that on the wiring aspect. And also this has got the positive there that goes to the starter motor, and then we've got a permanent positive goes there and an ignition positive goes there. So that's what the wiring will be, but like I said, I'll do that in the wiring video, which I will put up very soon when I get around to doing it, basically. So what we're going to do now is we're going to do the power steering assembly with the pipes and the bottle. We've already got the power steering rack and the power steering pump installed, but we do need to put this previously completely black power steering bottle into place with its pipes on. And yes, it still looks a little dirty in places, but I've spent a good 2-3 hours on that, and that looks like it's pretty much going to be the best I'm going to get, so that'll have to do, I'm afraid. But when I say it was black, it was really black. Yeah, so we're going to put that in and we'll put the pipes in. So guys, there's a little lug on the top here which hooks just underneath the bottom of the bonnet stand, and then there's a hole just here which a little washer nut goes onto. That goes into here, but there is one problem I've found with this. It won't quite go, because when I had it welded there was a little bit of a hole here, and there's a plate there which is pretty much just been put there to plate it up. My fault, I told him to do it, but he wasn't probably aware that that went there. But anyway, neither here nor there, so I've got to modify something around here to make that actually fit. So I think I'm going to attempt to probably give it a few whacks with a hammer and see what actually happens. I've actually managed to be able to get it to seat in there, so just as simple as not bending the plate a little bit with a hammer has allowed it to sit in there nicely. So a little nut goes on there. There we go, that's on there. That ain't going nowhere. Lovely jubbly. This pipe here comes up from the power steering, and I'll see if I can show you where that leads to in a little while. But it comes up from the power steering rack, and it's a return feed, so that goes into the top of the bottle just here. Try and match the clip up where it went on the pipe originally. So that's that one done. So now we need to then take this feed off down here to the bottom of the pump. Put that clip onto there like so it stays there. Push this into location. And bring the clip up like so. So I don't know how well you can see that, guys, but there's the bottom end of the pipe. I've used a finger off of one of my gloves and a second finger off of one of the same glove, and a couple of cable ties to keep this from having any rubbish go in there. So if I just literally break that free and then take that off, that is literally the location of where this pipe needs to go onto there. But we need a clip, so let's grab the clip. So pull that back off, put it through the clip, push it back into place, and then there we go, nice and tight. And there would have been let's see if I can show you, there would have been a round clip just like this one that opens up and closes here to hold it back there like so. That is well, I actually ended up breaking it putting the engine in, but neither here nor there. I will get a new one for there, and I will get that clip back at some point, but I just don't have one at the moment. So that will be clipped up onto one of these spring loaded clips up here where it should be, how it should be, but I can't do that in this video, and I'll do that off a camera at some point anyway. So now we have, if I bring you back down again, we have the other side and the longer pipe, which is this one, and this actually fixes into a few locations underneath. So the first thing we do is we literally bring it back round again, and we'll start taking this off. That might just, no it won't, I've got to cut it off. That and that. So this can go behind there, like so, into there, and then we'll just do this up by hand for now, because I want to be able to manoeuvre it a little bit for now. Right, so there's a 6mm hex behind here which holds the power steering pump on. It's not going to cause a problem because it is actually being held on by other bolts as well. So I need to undo this, put it through the bracket, and then do it back up again, but I'll do it back up by hand first. So this is now tightened up. That's a 17mm spanner. It turns out the problems I had with this bracket, which you can see just hiding behind here, was a problem that I'd caused myself, because this one is a bolt through bolt with capabilities of putting a nut on this side. I'd placed that stem to hold the power steering pump in place into here, and I'd put the 6mm hex bolt into this one, so I'd swap them two round, me being a nana and doing that. So I've swapped them back. The 8mm hex bolt is in there now. That one bolted through with 13mm on the top there, and then a 13mm nut holds the bracket in place. That then comes around here, and that is another 13mm nut holding it to the side of the gearbox. Hello Tibbles, cat's come to say hi, as she always does. But anyway, what I'm going to do now, because that is not done any further than that, so we do need to get under the car and do the brackets underneath and get it bolted up to the steering rack itself. So I'm going to get the little tripod and we'll get under there and get that done now. So guys, as promised, we're underneath the car. This is where the pipe fixes to the gearbox here. It comes around underneath the gearbox, and what you wasn't probably expecting though is I was going to bring you under and show you how I do all this, but instead I actually chose to just do it and then show you afterwards. I apologise for that, but I'll explain myself in a minute. But basically, as it comes underneath the gearbox just here, we've got a bracket that goes onto this gearbox bolt, and that's 16mm gearbox bolt just there. It's a 10mm bolt for the metal plate, and then we've then got the 13mm bolt holding the bracket for the power steering line. Power steering line then goes round here, nice flexy bit to allow movement. It then bolts onto the subframe just there with another 13mm, and then this is where it then gets a bit tricky. So as you can see, if we follow it up, it goes up here, and then goes up into the power steering just there. This one you can see on the camera isn't the one we've just done up. The one we've just done up is behind that, and I'll get you a shot at the top in a minute. But part of the reason why, for some silly reason, I like to make myself think jobs harder than I need to. So it is on axle stands, but if you look carefully at these axle stands, there isn't even a pin in them, so they could go 3 holes higher than they are. And what it is as a result of me putting the engine in, I chose to put axle stands on to give myself a little bit of extra lift on the car, but also not go too high for sturdiness aspects, because the lower the better for sturdiness. And when it comes to doing this job, I just thought, you know what, I'll just crack on and get it done. So thankfully I'm skinny, but as a result, I can't show you footage of me putting this in because YouTube will probably take it off for too much use of a certain word, but yeah. So I'll take it up the top and we'll show you a better view of where this metal pipe actually goes into on the steering rack, because I can shine down behind the inlet manifold and show you that. So as you can see there from an overhead sort of view, let me just sturdy that up. So as you can see from an overhead sort of view, this is the pipe I showed you down underneath. It comes round, it goes over the top of this one. This is the one you could see on the footage from underneath the car. This is the one we've just put in. This one stayed connected because this pipe here is the one that goes up to the return. This is the return back to the power steering bottle. And that's where I showed you, told you earlier right on, guys, about showing you which one that is. So as you can see on the footage, where my finger is, that's the return back to the power steering bottle. This is the output feed from the power steering pump that goes underneath the gearbox. That's this one just here. So as you can see, that's why it was quite tricky, because it's so close together, so close to the engine, so close to the bulkhead. And yeah, I'm actually shining the camera through the inlet manifold at the moment. But yeah, I'm going to call that done, guys, and that's pretty much it. So this is the part where I say goodbye then, and thank you very much for watching. Just before you do go though, please consider watching another one of my amazing videos in the top corner just here, and please consider subscribing if you're not already subscribed in the bottom corner just here. Take care, guys. Bye for now.